All right, welcome everyone to the Transportation Finance Omnibus House File 2887 Conference Committee. Missed you all, it's been a little while. Welcome. And tonight, members and to the public, we're going to take a look at the finance proposal we have in front of us. We have the H2887DE amendments. Mr. Chair, would you like to make any opening comments, and would you like to move the DE?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Welcome, everybody. Really appreciate the work that everyone around the table and in the room and across the state have done over this session to get us where we are today. I think we have before us a historic and transformative transportation bill that covers all modes of transportation in all regions of the state. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the walkthrough and hearing from the public about it. And again, appreciate very much your work, Mr. Chair. You've been such a strong voice for transportation for so many years, and it's just a pleasure and honor to work with you.
Great, thank you. So with that, I think we're going to first, staff has kind of formatted of how they're going to walk through and help folks understand the proposal that's in front of us. So I will toss it to our staff. Ms. Boyd, would you like to lead us off? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm certainly not going to do a line-by-line walkthrough of the spreadsheet because we've been through that many times. I think I'll just highlight a few things that are maybe different from the first walkthrough when we opened conference, and a brief walkthrough of the revenues section. So the spreadsheet is dated today and posted at 2:35 p.m. On the first page, on line 17 is a slight increase to the governor's rec for the multimodal transportation package from the general fund for aeronautics of $36 million instead of $26 million. On line 44 is an adjustment to the multimodal gov's rec for Greater Minnesota Transit of $40 million as opposed to $68 million. And on line 48, there's a change to the active transportation amounts that were in the Senate position of $19.5 million a year. This will be backed by a transfer from the general fund to the active transportation account and roughly $9 million a year in the tails. On page 2, let's see. On line 71 is similar to the House position for the Northern Lights Express, and now $194.7 million from the general fund. Let's see. Line, again, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but if any members have questions and want to stop me, please do. On line 83, for the Stone Arch Bridge, that's not really a change. That was the governor and House position, but the full ask of $5 million from the general fund. Let's see. Trying to pick out highlights, Mr. Chair. On line, I'll skip down to state road construction on line 144 and 145. These were similar to recs in both the House and Senate positions for Living's, on 144 for Living Snow Fence. They were at different amounts in different places. Now they're under state road construction from the general fund at $1.5 million one time. The speed mitigation and work zones is now one time $300,000 under the state road construction line. Line 162 is a new amount for debt service for new trunk highway bond authorizations, 23.97 in the first biennium and 87.8 in the second biennium to support roughly $599 million in trunk highway bonds in the conference report, or in the DE, I should say. Let's see. Other local roads on page 4. There's a change to the local road and local bridge appropriations on lines 204 and 205. of roughly 18 million a year for each of those from the general fund, or not a year, 18 million one time. On lines 213 and 214 is the statutory appropriations from the small cities and larger cities assistance accounts, and this is related to revenues coming out of the transportation, deposited into the transportation advancement account that I'll go over in a bit. And then on line 215 is a statutory appropriation to metropolitan counties from that new account of 30 million in the first biennium and 63 million in the second biennium. Line 216 is a statutory appropriation to metro counties from the metro sales tax. This is that 17% of the metro sales tax distributed to metro counties. 156.9 million in the first biennium and 199 in the second. Oh, there's a change on line 265 on page 5 related to the MnDOT Central Office Building. This was supposed to be, or this was originally in the Senate position, I should say, an elimination of an open appropriation in 26 and 27. Now that open appropriation has been altered somewhat. Instead of being eliminated, it will be at 25% of the cost of rent and utilities for the office building, and the other 75% from the trunk highway fund. And then related to that on line 264 is a elimination of the direct appropriation from the general fund under buildings, because that amount will be paid for out of the new open appropriation or reduced open appropriation. Let's see. On line 294 under Metropolitan Council is a $3 million one-time appropriation from the general fund for US Highway 69 Bus Rapid Transit Project. Most of these are similar to what was in, on the rest of the page is similar to what was in most of the Govs Recs and House and Senate positions for DPS. So I will skip down to I will skip down to driver and vehicle services. Again, most of these positions are the same or similar to House and Senate positions. A new one is on line 425, and this is a $6 million one-time appropriation to the department for payments to deputy registrars based on proportional share of transactions in 1 year. Let's see. Oh, okay. The next substantial change, I would say, starts at the bottom of page 9. This is a list of named projects in the bill. Most, or if not all, of the appropriations are to MnDOT. On lines 41 and 42, that was the Senate position on funding for TMOs. That's also on that line. But starting on line 483, there are some named projects, and I won't read them all, but all of them from 483 to 491 are from the general fund, down to line 498 on page 10. And then on lines 499 and 500 are two trunk highway fund cash appropriations for other projects, 169 and trunk highway 7. Lines 512 and 513 under the Department of Revenue are new statutory appropriations from the general fund to pay for aid payments related to the indexed gas tax that is now in the proposal. Those are tax interactions that are statutory under the Department of Revenue. That's collectively about $1 million in the first biennium, and if I'm reading the right lines, and about $1.7 million in the second biennium. Line 521 is the federal funds coordinator. That's a House position that was picked up in the DE. Let's see. And then I think we're ready to skip to revenues because much of the rest is the same. And just a real brief walkthrough of I'll start with transfers. On line 569, this is the transfer one time from the general fund to the trunk highway fund to help pay for federal funds match from the IIJA Federal Act. And this is, the governor's ask started at $423 million. Due to increased revenues to the trunk highway fund under the DE, this needed transfer is now $152.7 million one time. And then on lines 574 and 575, these are gas tax transfers to DNR accounts related to the increased gas tax revenue in the, I'll show you in the revenue later. Okay, so starting on revenues, the auto parts sales tax starting on 591. This is an adjustment from both House and Senate positions. There is the reallocation will be phased in out of the general fund over 10 years. The portion to HUTDF will be set at 43.5% every year to HUTDF, and then an additional increasing percentage to the transportation advancement account created in the bill in the special revenue fund, and all the remainder in the general fund, which will be phased out to zero in 2033. On page 12, the motor vehicle registration tax is the same as the Senate position coming into conference. On line 608 is the gas tax indexing. This is a revenue increase in the first biennium of about $155 million and the second biennium of $266. This is an index set to MnDOT construction cost index, is capped at 3% every year and will be an effective increase of 5 cents over the current rate by fiscal year 2027. The motor vehicle sales tax revenues are the same as in the House position. The retail delivery fee on line 616 is now set at 50 cents on orders of non-exempt goods over $100, or a total of a threshold of over $100. Let's see, and that revenue is $59 million in the first biennium and $130 in the second. The Twin Cities metro area sales tax is set at 0.75%. That's on lines, let's see, 630 and 631. 83% to Metro Transit and 17% to Metro counties, distributed based on population and money needs. And disabled veterans exemptions, these are the House provisions on line 635 through 639, various exemptions to fees and taxes affecting HUTD, transit assistance, and special revenue funds. Let's see. I believe much of that I've already covered above. So moving to page 13. Let's see, on line 656, or 657, I'm sorry, there's a new filing fee increase for vehicle services. So vehicle transactions would have an increase in the filing fee of $1. And that is on line 657. It's about $4 million in the first biennium and $4.7 million in the second biennium. And that is the amount that goes to DVS. There is a larger amount that will be kept by deputy registrars if the transaction is occurring at their office. Let's see. Am I missing anything? On line 686, this is the electric assisted bicycle tax. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not there anymore. It's now a rebate. And that is up in expenditures. Okay, so what do we have? Oh, I'm sorry, line 688 is the sustainable aviation fuel tax credit. It's now in there, and that is $7.4 million reduction to revenue in the first biennium and $4.2 million reduction to general fund revenue in the second. Again, on line 694 and 695 shows the revenues to DNR accounts related to the gas tax transfers. And I believe that's it of the major changes, so I'll just point out once again on the last page that the general fund target set by leadership has been met in the first and second biennium, right under the bottom of the spreadsheet. And I'll also point out the box right under the spreadsheet showing the trunk highway bond authorizations in the bill. In the first, there's $87.44 million for MnDOT facilities. This was a governor's capital request. There is $145 million over 2 years for corridors of commerce, $200 million over 3 years for state road construction, $166.15 million in trunk highway bonds for named projects in Article 2 of the DE, and then $600,000 for bond sale expenses for a total of $599.2 million in trunk highway bond authorizations. And I'll just ask Mr. Lee if I needed to. Okay, we're good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, who's next? Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair and members, I can go next. First, I'll just start with a general overview to the DE amendment, just for a little bit of wayfinding. The amendment is it contains a number of articles. Article 1 is the appropriations. That's a lot of what was just covered. Article 2 contains trunk highway bonds, and the trunk highway bonds article includes funding for corridors of commerce, state road construction, a number of specified projects. Article 3 contains a number of tax and fee provisions. These are to some extent reorganized from the structure of the House and Senate as far as location of some provisions. So a number of the driver's
Great.
license.
Mr. Burris, I guess we have to go vote. So we're going to be in recess for just a few minutes. We'll be right back. All right. Apologies. We're probably going to have to do that a couple more times. We're debating a bill on the floor of the Senate. The House is in recess, I understand, for 3 hours. So the nature of legislative business is fluid. So where were we? Mr. Burris had just started. So do you want to pick up where you left off or start from the top? Whatever works for you, Mr.
Mr. Chair and members, I was doing something. I think I will go to Article 3. Again, is the kind of the overview of what the DE, how the DE is structured. Article 3 contains the tax and fee provisions. There's a variety of them. I'll get into that a little bit. Article 4 contains a variety of policy and finance provisions. And then followed by that, Article 5 contains some supplemental additional policy language that is being incorporated into the DE. And there is an article on the independent expert review provisions. Some of those have been moved into the tax and fee article, and then there's an article on conforming changes. So moving into Article 3, this sets up some modifications to the fiscal structure of funding, and pieces of this have been touched on. There's a new account that's created, the Transportation Advancement Account. It receives funds from both a reallocation of the general sales tax revenue attributed to auto parts, as well as the retail delivery fee. And then there's a series of distributions that are percentage-based out of that account. Moving to some of the provisions in Article 3, the first is establishing a large cities assistance account. This receives a portion of the TAA funding and has a statutory appropriation of the funds going out to larger cities that are eligible to receive municipal state aid street dollars. Second piece is also found in Article 3 is the modifications to the motor vehicle registration tax. That's the Senate position on the schedule and rate changes. The retail delivery fee is also found in Article 3, as was mentioned. This has some modifications relative to the House position, including changing the rate and establishing some exemptions and setting a threshold for the fee to trigger. Next, also in Article 3, I'd mentioned the Transportation Advancement Account, and that sets up both the receipt and distribution of funds. It also contains a couple of different requirements on both allocating funds to a share that goes to metropolitan counties, as well as setting up some additional requirements on uses of the funds that are split out on a formula basis for those dollars. That allocation formula and those uses are utilized both on funds coming out of the Transportation Advancement Account, as well as with respect to dollars that go to metropolitan counties under the regional transportation sales tax that's being authorized. So a portion of the regional transportation sales tax goes to counties. The other portion goes to the Metropolitan Council, and the language outlines some of the uses of those funds, including active transportation. As was mentioned, the general sales tax attributed to auto parts is being modified as well in Article 3. It sets up a phase-in schedule for funds to go into the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund, as well as the new Transportation Advancement Account, and out of the general fund. This uses the somewhat longer phase-in schedule, more similar to the Senate position. Article 3 also contains the regional transportation sales tax, as I had mentioned, and then as well contains the House position on the motor vehicle sales tax increase. And both House and Senate raised the rate, uses the formula shift for dollars going to Greater Minnesota Transit. Moving just to touch on a couple of the other provisions that are also in Article 3, The indexing of the motor vehicle sales tax is located here. That was touched on previously. And then a new tax credit for the production of sustainable aviation fuel is in this article, as is a sales tax exemption that has a delayed effective date that also relates to that proposal. Moving next, if you're following down the list, I'll do a little less jumping around. There are a couple other provisions that were in the DE. On page 2, there is a modification to the local cost share percentages for Greater Minnesota Transit. That's the Senate position. And then there's a modification to the prohibitions on use of highway funds. That was a Senate provision. Also a Senate provision was a change to MnDOT's central office building. And this is modified from the original Senate position to move up the effective date and create a split in the use of funds between the trunk highway fund and the general fund. Moving then to quarters of commerce, and this is in Article 4 of the delete all amendment. It's largely the House position, but there are some modifications, particularly to the way in which regional balance is calculated. So the percentages between the core, the ring, and the outer are shifted. There are a couple other changes regarding the selection process and how funds are used with the development dollars. The House position is included on a passenger rail funding provision. There's some modified versions of a couple of, or a study on road funding gap. There's some modified House-only provisions from, or that relate to transit signal priority system planning, as well as a pilot program for elimination or reduction of transit fares. On metropolitan governance, the DE contains the House position, which is to establish a task force. And that takes us to some of the transit provisions, Mr. Chair.
All right. Mr. Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. There are a variety of things that have been that are part of the DE that pertain to either transit safety or changes to the procurement, the design, the construction, or the operation of transit and light rail transit. On the Senate position on the designation of responsible authority of naming MnDOT the responsible authority on certain transit projects has been adjusted and changed. The first change is found in Article 4, beginning on page 168. This provides that MnDOT is to provide staff support if the Metropolitan Council is the responsible authority for any future light rail project, and requires project manager experience for the under certain experience requirements for a person who leads the planning, design, acquisition, construction, or equipping of a light rail transit project. The Article 4 in general is mostly adopted provisions and policies by the conference committee, with a few other additions pertaining to transit. Of note, the Blue Line light rail extension, both community engagement and route alignment, uncodified language beginning on 196 have some slight changes to clearly designate the purpose of both engaging with the community for the Blue Line light rail extension. Changes to that change on page 195, beginning on lines 10, specify the specific types of neighborhoods that the Blue Line light rail extension project office must coordinate and consult with about a potential light rail extension being placed through that neighborhood. And then on page 196, the route alignment consultation is clarified to not include an entire redesign of Interstate 94 as it had been the Senate language, but rather the redesign of the potential overpass.
Mr. Greenfield will have to suspend for a moment. We are in recess. We'll be right back. All right, we'll call this hearing back to order. Let's see, Mr. Greenfield.
Mr. Chair, members, I just want to run through some final provisions and reports and session law that are contained in Article 4. Then I will briefly explain Article 5 and some small but significant things to identify in Article 6, the article pertaining to the independent expert review. On page 175 is a new addition establishing cleaning standard, requiring the Metropolitan Council to establish cleaning standards for transit vehicles and stations. On page 191 of Article 4, a provision establishing a corridor development analysis for passenger rail and transit and rail services improvements in the corridor between the cities of St. Paul, Minneapolis, Coon Rapids, St. Cloud, Fargo, and Moorhead. The analysis requirements are set forth on page 191, lines 10 to 31. On page 192, the Transit Service Intervention Project as part of the Transit Safety Package is brought in. Of note, on subdivision 5 on page 193, there's the reference to county-based social services is modified to be as available to perform the intervention. That's to begin upon final enactment. On page 195 as the Blue Line Light Rail Extension meetings that were previously discussed. On page 202, as Mr. Burris mentioned, this is the Metropolitan Governance Task Force. This specifies the membership of the task force and the structure of the types of reform for the Metropolitan Council is specified beginning on page 202 and into 203. Beginning on page 206 begins a litany of legislative reports, including a report on speed safety cameras, a report that was initially in the Senate position as a study on equalizing the revenue lost to the gas tax from electric vehicles into a broader study about road funding as a result of more efficient fuel vehicles. The requirements for the study and the analysis are specified on page 208. Article 5 is what's termed as supplemental transportation policy, but this is Senate File 1335, which is the transportation policy omnibus that passed off the Senate floor last Friday. A significant portion of those provisions were heard in the House or were heard by the House Transportation and other committees and were given their second reading. I'm not going to go through them in extensive detail, but Article 5 is essentially Senate File 1335 with two sections pertaining to small aircraft insurance removed from the overall article. I'll note on page 242, section 46, that provides a slightly different effective date for the policy provisions in the supplemental policy article as a result of the way effective dates are construed in Minnesota statutes. But of importance for the overall article, the repealer effective date does specify some different effective dates for the provisions that were repealed in the policy bill. On Article 6 contains certain policy provisions pertaining to the independent expert review. I won't go through them in detail as many of them are essentially the language as agreed upon by either the House or Senate and are specified in Mr. Burris's chart. But I will note that the auditing provision, the exam station location for requiring DVS to operate the criteria by which DVS is to maintain and open driver examination stations is specified on page 251 right at the top. And the Commissioner of Public Safety must ensure that an applicant may take an exam in either the county where the applicant resides or an adjacent county at a reasonably convenient location. This is essentially the Senate language merged onto the overall House package when it comes to driver exam stations. Finally, there are three session law sections to identify and briefly detail in Article 6, beginning on page 252. Section 14 establishes in session law the MnDrive appeal process for people who had their access to suspended between October 1, 2018 and September 30, 2023. Previous position had this codified as part of an overall auditing process related to MnDrive. This moves this into session law. And then Section 15 and Section 16, beginning on page 253 and into 254, are two reports, the first of which pertains to Deputy Registrar and Driver's License Agent Financial Sustainability, and the second pertains to Driver and Vehicle Services recommendations. That examines both the recommendations made by the independent expert review as well as requires DVS to submit the Commissioner of Public Safety's plan for the location, schedule, and staffing allocation of driver examination stations. I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Burris for some final provisions in Article 3 that are important to highlight for the committee.
Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair and members, just to highlight a couple of other aspects of Article 3 that I had skipped over. One is also relates to the independent expert review, and this had been touched on. This is found in Article 3, Section 6 on page 52. This is where the filing fee increase is located, as well as a $1 surcharge that is imposed by deputy registrars. Also in Article 3, a couple times we'd mentioned the transportation advancement account. That language is found on page 62 at section 17. Moving to page 77, section 33 is one piece of the metro area funding changes related to transit. Section 33 makes modifications that relate to a kind of takeover of both the operating and capital maintenance costs of guideways so that the Metropolitan Council would assume those responsibilities. And going along with that, on page 81, section 35, also in Article 3, provides for the payment of net operating costs of the guideways in some circumstances. That, Mr. Chair, is a run-through of the provisions in the delete all amendment.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burris. Senator Jasinski, were you trying to get my attention?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and maybe I missed it, but on page 252, I don't know if I want to go through this now or you want to go at the end, but I have a question about the Driver and Vehicle Service Information System Access Reinstatement.
We're going to invite the commissioners to come forward and the chair and then invite others to come forward.
Right.
And then
I'm just missing the retroactive language. I just want to make sure that's in there, but I'll come back to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. All right. So I know that we have the Commissioner of Transportation, Commissioner of Public Safety, and the chair of the Metropolitan Council here. So we would invite them forward to share some thoughts with us. All right. Welcome, Chair Zelli.
Mr. Chair, and committee members, it's my great honor to be here, and just to be brief, to mention a couple of things. One, of course, is our deep appreciation for the robust funding package that you are considering. It is truly transformational for transit. When we think about over a decade of having one-time funds plug a structural deficit for operating this system is, as they say, no way to run a bus company. And now with the idea of sustainable recurring funding, we have an opportunity to plan and make the kind of not just investments, but business practices to operate a quality interconnected system. And with additional funding comes great responsibility. We understand that. We respect and actually are excited about the additional kind of cost responsibilities, but also know that we have our work cut out for us, particularly in areas of safety. So we really appreciate the safety, the vision because it is ours as well to make a concerted effort, both in the short term and then, of course, long term, to provide a quality, welcoming experience for our customers and for our communities. When you think about what it takes to plan a regional transit, it's important for me to note that it is the whole region, not just the center cities. And we really take that responsibility, the innovation that transit is really going to require, thinking about, and I keep saying, interconnected system. We know that that will come through some of the existing plans, but also additional plans such as microtransit, other areas that we know and recognize as the future. And I think this funding package and this legislation really allows us to do that. So I know I could go on to individual provisions. I know I've worked with all of you, and we look forward to continuing to work with you to address the issues, particularly in the areas of safety, which we know are paramount, but also just the idea of a vision that could be shared by everyone. So again, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be for you, because I think this is something we've waited for. Maybe it's more like 20 years to have this moment.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate your comments. Who would like to speak next?
Thanks.
Commissioner Daubenberger, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and good evening. Thank you for letting me say a few words about the bill this evening. First of all, we just really appreciate the tremendous amount of work that has gone into the bill over the course of the session to get to this point, the work by the chairs, of course, and the conference committee members, and of course, the Senate and House staff who've been working tirelessly. And we appreciate all the coordination with our agencies as you had amendments for us to review, and working through budget numbers as well, and the members of both transportation committees and the leadership throughout the session. In particular, this bill provides funding in Governor Walz's One Minnesota Plan recommendations for multimodal transportation funding. Thank you for this historic investment in transportation. It also provides the very much needed local match for our federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funding, the formula and discretionary funding, and provides funding for program delivery and technical support for discretionary grant program pursuits by local and tribal transportation partners. And it sets up a NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, that's very important to us, and we look forward to rolling that out. And of course, the additional state road construction bonds that'll make us more competitive as we continue to go after discretionary grants. It's no surprise to you, I'm sure, but we were disappointed in the number of earmarks in the bill, since MnDOT does not support earmarks. However, we will work with our local partners to develop and deliver those named projects. Also, we are very appreciative of the revenue generators in the bill to address our long-term unmet transportation funding needs now and out into the future. So thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you today and to work with you on this bill and this huge investment. Very excited to continue to work with you as we implement the provisions in the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Deputy Commissioner O'Hearn, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairs, leads, committee members. Commissioner Jacobson was not able to be here, but asked that I send my thanks to you, to your staff, and thank you for the critical investments that this bill provides to improve safety for all Minnesotans. It makes our roads safer, and it provides important safety enhancements with our pipelines and our railroads. The Traffic Safety Advisory Council will improve traffic safety today and into the future, and bring together key stakeholders and leaders to guide this work. Thank you for the strong support for the State Patrol and its mission, ensuring necessary investments also for today and into the future. For DVS, your investments will provide a better customer service across the state. Whether you're trying to get a vehicle inspected, get your driver's license, doing any, taking your driver's exam, And of course, it provides support for our partners, deputy registrars. Thank you for the investments that you have made in the Department of Public Safety. These investments will ensure that we can meet the needs of our agency and accomplish the work and our mission, which is to serve all communities to build a safer Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner. All right, any questions, members, for the leaders here? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now we'll invite anyone forward who would like to come and address the conference committee for 2 minutes. All right. All right. All right. Welcome, Ms. Donahoe.
Hi, thank you, Chair Dibble and Chair Hornstein. Just really briefly, just want to thank everybody on the committee and the chairs for all of your work on this bill. Our organization really appreciates the revenue increases. Indexing the fuel tax is something we've been talking about for many years.
Ms. Donahoe, can you just identify yourself quickly for the record?
Oh, sorry, Margaret Donahoe with the Transportation Alliance. And I really want to thank Representative Cagle for all of your work on the delivery fee and making that workable. And just, again, all of the recognition of the needs for, especially for local governments, small cities, large cities, townships, counties, that have been looked at in this bill for the first time in a long time. And also the trunk highway bonds will make a big difference, and the funding for corridors of commerce and all of the trunk highway projects is greatly appreciated by the industry. I know it will create a lot of jobs, and our members greatly appreciate all of your work and the matching money for the IIJA, which is also really important. And of course, the funding for transit, we really appreciate both in the metro and in greater Minnesota. So again, thank you. We just really want to say this is a really good bill for transportation that will provide the ongoing dedicated revenue we've been asking for. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Donahoe. Would anyone else like to come forward? All right. More people can come forward at a time if you would want to queue up on the chairs there.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Sherry Munyon with the Minnesota Public Transit Association. We're extremely thankful for the work that this committee did in providing funding for Greater Minnesota Transit, long-term sustainable funding. This has been a long time coming, very much needed, and will really help our transit systems. In addition, also want to thank you for the one-time funding you provided to allow for a 2-year reduction in local match while our transit systems are still getting back on their feet with that missing federal money that kept them afloat previously. And then quickly, on behalf of Citizens for Work Zone Safety, thank you for the $300,000 you put in the bill to help our workers in work zones after a project has been let and they're actually in the zone working and they find out that additional safety enhancements are needed. That additional funding will be greatly appreciated and provide them safety as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
My name is Timothy Marino. I didn't really have anything prepared, but I just want to say thank you for everybody for all of the work that has been done, particularly with the sales tax towards transit. This is a really good sign for transit riders. We've been through a lot with cuts in frequency with the driver shortage and other things that have been addressed throughout this committee, I'm sure many times. But it's a good sign with all of the sustainable infrastructure that has been put in with the zero emissions for our power and electric vehicles, to remember that our transit riders are a big part of our environmental future. And putting that money towards arterial bus rapid transit, highway bus rapid transit, better bus stops, just the simple little things, they mean a lot to the riders. And I'm really looking forward to, especially in the future, seeing what's going to develop out of the Highway 169 BRT funding. I really appreciate that being included. And also with the transit safety programs that are being added in here. And so I just want to say thank you again on behalf of many other bus riders who I'm sure would, if they knew about some of these things, would love to say these things to y'all in person.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Lori Halverson, a Dakota County Commissioner, and I'm here to say thank you for the work and the conversation, and just say through this process, I think that we started a very important conversation about what regional transit looks like, and that we need to continue this conversation, because this funding is an opportunity for the next couple of decades, and that we need to make sure that us in the suburbs, the suburban counties, get to participate in transformational regional transit. And that might look very different than a more centralized system that some people may see. But we need to make sure that we can do everything we can to make sure that we are bringing riders to transit. We have too many areas, as you guys have heard, that where people are separated from access to transit by 8 or more lanes of high-speed traffic that, frankly, has been dangerous and has proved fatal in our communities. And so the unique engineering opportunities that we need to take advantage of with this funding and with future transportation bills, we want to continue to be part of a conversation of what regional transportation looks like in the suburbs as well as in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mossman.
Mr. Chairs, Matt Mossman with the Minnesota Inter-County Association, representing 15 of Minnesota's larger fast-growing counties across the state. Thank you as well for your work. I would just start by really echoing the comments of Ms. Donahoe earlier. We really appreciate the heavy lifting that you all have done and your colleagues for the statewide revenues and the important investments that'll happen in systems across the state. I did comment to both of you and just wanted to quickly comment on the record. I know that also ensuring regional balance in the work of the corridors of commerce has been a really important piece for all of our membership, and a lot of work has been done. The way we read the language of the bill that is drafted, we believe that of the Metro project and Metro Connector project buckets, that all of the geography that is in the first bucket could also be eligible for projects in the second bucket. We don't know if that was your intent. If it wasn't your intent, it wasn't our recommendation and preference when we would like to talk to you about that if there's an opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mossman. We were going to address that in just a moment because I think Council has a different perspective on how the language actually functions. So
thank you.
We'll walk through that. Mr. O'Rourke, welcome.
Mr. Chair, members, my name is Cap O'Rourke. I'm here on behalf of Minnesota Association of Small Cities. We represent the 707 cities with populations under 5,000. At first, I want to thank you for providing ongoing and dedicated revenue to Minnesota small cities. As you all know, we are the only entity that has not had that. And while this number was below both the House and Senate position, we do look forward to working with you to make sure that it provides adequate resources. I would say one of our big concerns with this legislation is in the first year we get phased in, and I think we're provided $3 million. That roughly averages to about $4,000 per city, which is very below what you can do. Anything, it's maybe 3 or 4 potholes. So our big concern is the slow phase in, because we're starting from zero as opposed to all the other local municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. I'll just point out quickly, there are funds for the local road improvement program in both our bill as well as the cash bill that's coming through, as well as local bridges. So that might help.
But, Mr. Chair, and thank you. I would just point out that with the local road improvement program, Minnesota Small Cities gets only about 15% of that total dollar. So out of the 18 million that you have right now, I think we would get 3 million, which would probably cover about 3 of our cities. So,
Mr. Rockwell, welcome.
Mr. Chairs and the full committee, thank you so much for this bill. This is an incredible product, and it is a huge step forward for our climate and for justice, and both through some of the individual funding provisions, which I know both Peter and Dorian will touch on briefly, and just through the approach of having greenhouse gas components within this bill, vehicle miles traveled recognized within this bill. This is a historic bill, and it's a bill that really sets us up long-term for a prosperous Minnesota and to really be playing our part across the country and across the world. So I am so proud to be a Minnesotan with this bill here, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wagenius.
Mr. Chair, Peter Wagenius, Legislative Director at Sierra Club. Speaking to the transit portions of the bill, from a climate perspective, this bill, in combination with the 100% bill and the Omnibus Energy and Environment bill, collectively are to the state of Minnesota what the Inflation Reduction Act is to the nation, transformative. I have never felt more hopeful as an American about our capacity to tackle the climate crisis as I was when the Inflation Reduction Act passed. And I have never been more hopeful than today, seeing this bill, the third of three, allow Minnesota to get itself on a path to address the emissions from our own state. And hearkening back to the presentation we had on Transit Equity Day, I know that the same provisions, which are going to lead us towards a sustainable future, are going to lead us towards a more equitable future. So to the chairs and to all the committee members, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagenius. Mr. Grilli.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name's Dorian Grilli. I'm with the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota. And I know biking and walking are not the solution to climate change, public health issues, community sustainability, but I think the return on investment is really, really high. So I want to thank you for the active transportation, the safe routes to school, the portion of the Metro sales tax for biking and walking, and all the policy recommendations that we made, or adopting all the policy recommendations that we made that'll make the streets safer for biking and walking. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Grilli. All right. Would anyone else like to address the committee? All right. We will close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the committee for conversation, question, amendments, and the like. Can Senator Jasinski, if we could hold for one moment and ask if I could ask Mr. Greenfield to address the concern that's been raised by Mr. Mossman. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, the section in question is on page 101, so I'm just going to walk through what that section says and provide a little bit of perhaps a geographic description of what is entailed on page 101. So of note, on page 99, a greater metropolitan county includes the following counties on lines 10 and 11. It lists Anoka, Carver, Chisago, Dakota, Hennepin, Asante, Ramsey, Scott, Sherburne, Washington, and Wright. And turning back to page 101 in clauses 1 and 2, there are what's known as the following regional allocations. One is known as metro projects, where as part of the Corridors of Commerce program, the Department of Transportation is to allocate at least 25% and no more than 27.5% of funds that are located within, on, or directly adjacent to an area bounded by marked interstate highways 494 and 694, while Metro Connector projects are at least 35 and no more than 37.5% of funds for projects that on line 10111 are not included in clause 1 and are located wholly or primarily within a greater metropolitan county. So from the perspective, as I understand it, of the testifier, a greater metropolitan county located wholly within would be projects that could be located within Hennepin or Ramsey County. Of note, the communities that exist outside of the 694, 494 corridor, starting.
I guess we have to pause there. So
for a vote. You can look at a map if anyone wants a spoiler alert for that,
all right.
what's outside.
All right, we'll be right back. We're in recess. Okay, a little unexpected deliberations. It's the way conference committees work. It's the way they're supposed to work, right? Not like they have in the last few years where they present a closed-up bill. I think we will take some amendments at this point in time. So, Mr. Chair, we have a couple of, or one technical amendment, some elements that came in from the agency when they reviewed the language after it was posted or on its way to being posted. So, Mr. Chair, would you like to move the 126, and you can have Mr. Greenfield explain it or Mr. Burris explain it?
Mr. Chair, I'll move the A126 amendment.
All right. And who would like to? All right, Mr. Greenfield.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the A126 amendment makes a variety of technical changes. I'll have Ms. Boyd explain the first few instructions on lines 1.2 to 1.13.
Mr. Chair, lines 1.3 to 1.8, and then 1.10 to 1.13 are adjustments to state aid appropriations for county state aid and municipal state aid. This was to account for some adjustments to the highway user tax distribution fund revenues that were not picked up in the first version of the spreadsheet. So those flow-through amounts had to be adjusted. And then on line 1.9, deleting each year and inserting fiscal year 2024 is correcting an appropriation that was meant to be one time, but the language accidentally had it as ongoing.
All right, Mr. Greenfield.
And Mr. Chair, the remaining instructions beginning on 1.14 are some other corrections. The first instruction, 115 to 121, is a clarification that the Commissioner of Transportation is to use the results from the 2023 Corridors of Commerce project list and use the regional allocation formula that's established later in the bill in Article 4. And then the remaining changes are on 1.22 and on 1.23 and 1.24. That makes cross-reference to a specific account that's not actually created in the bill. And then 1.25 is a correction requested by the Metropolitan Council. And then on 1.26, this is a study date change. This is a report that's required under the existing language as January 3, 2024. The Department of Public Safety requested that be moved out to November 1 to give the group sufficient time to actually produce the report. So it'd be November 1, 2024, as opposed to January 3, 2024.
All right, thank you. Questions to the amendment, members? All right, all in favor of the A126, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, and then who's going to offer? Representative Tabke, I think you have the A158.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So this is the A158 amendment, adding microtransit service. We in the House, thanks to Chair Hornstein, had discussed microtransit quite a lot this past session, and this was something that was inadvertently left out of the bill that we want to make sure to get in. It gives 2.3 million to MVTA for vehicle costs, 3.5 million for infrastructure and capital costs, 3 million to Southwest Transit for vehicle infrastructure and capital costs, and then 200,000 to Maple Grove Transit for vehicle costs. And this is providing critical links for first mile and last mile on transit. As well, thank you very much to Representative Petersburg for all of his help in getting this moving forward and agreeing to do this today and being part of it. So thank you very much, Representative Petersburg. And with that, the A158 amendment.
Thank you. And yes, I appreciate this being brought forward. We thought it was a part of the conference committee report. Wasn't, so now it's going to be. Questions to the A158?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank both Representatives Petersburg and Vice Chair Tabke for this. It is a bill that I offered and have visited down in this area and experienced the microtransit service myself, and I think this is the future, one of the ways that we're addressing the future of transit in this bill. And so I want to thank the folks that brought this to me and very excited about it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, all in favor of the A158, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to offer the A131 amendment.
Senator Jasinski offers the A131 to the amendment, Senator Jasinski.
And thank you, Chairs.
Excuse me, I thought it was passed out. Do we have?
I think the House has the amendment.
Oh.
We had that, just for members, we had the A130. We need to make a correction to that. So the new amendment is the A131 that would replace the A130 amendment.
All right.
And Mr. Chair, while we're
Senator Jasinski, yes.
While we're distributing that, I want to thank both you and all our staff to try and bring this item to make sure we are correct on that. What this does is it replaces the $50 million to $42 million. And the reason for this is this is the Highway 8 project in Chisago County. And we've been told by the engineer that only $42 million qualifies for trunk highway bonds. The remaining $8 million does not qualify for trunk highway bonds because it's accessory streets that connect. So we did not want that $8 million to go to waste. So what we're asking for is the $8 million would be dropped down into the corridors of commerce money and then use the $42 million, which is the only portion that qualifies for trunk highway bonds. So again, I want to thank both of you for being patient as well as the audience. That's kind of what's been going on, just to verify that these are the true and correct numbers. There is some discrepancy between 38.3 and 42, but we think we can correct that at a later date if we have to. But we want to get this done this evening, so that's why we're relying on the $42 million. And with that, I ask for a yes vote on the A131 amendment. Again, thanking everybody involved this evening for the delay. This was the delay reason, so thank you.
All right. Thank you. So questions to the A31 or comments? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. All right, and then I did want to just address the other matter that has been the subject of a lot of discussion, and that is how the envisioned allocation of corridors of commerce would be done in the future with the language that's in the conference committee report and the concern that Mr. Mossman had raised earlier that potentially all of those corridors of commerce projects and dollars could be spent conceivably in Hennepin and Ramsey. It is the perspective of council here for both institutions as well as in the revisor's office that is not the correct reading. However, I want to state explicitly for the record that the legislative intent is that not happen. MnDOT is nodding their head. They're looking at me. I will restate the legislative intent when we have the conference committee on the floor of the Senate. And I will also state for the record that in the interim, if it does turn out to be an actual element that needs to be repaired in the language of the statute, we will commit to figuring that out and making that repair next year, the next legislative session. All right. Senator Jasinski.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to thank you for that and as well for everyone involved. The chair has made that promise to me that if there is something that is under discrepancy, we need to fix that will be done. So I want to thank again you and Representative Hornstein and the entire committee for understanding that, and let's move on and be done.
All right. Very good. All right. Representative Petersburg, I think you have a couple of amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And there are two amendments that I have here, and both of them kind of relate to the same thing, and that is that in the DE that we have here, there are a couple of repealers in regards to the gag order in reference to the Dan Patch and the Rochester one, and the A159, which is the simplest one, if you would like me to move that one first. That one just simply says that gag order needs to stay in place. And the reason why I think that's important for us to consider that is because we are still in the midst of reevaluating transportation parameters and the behavior that people are using. And I think this is important for us to know when we need to prioritize transit. And public transit is important for us to do. When we prioritize where we subsidize those funds, I think we need to be clear as to what makes the best return on investment. And until we have that clear, I think the state needs to continue to kind of stay away from new projects that would like to be finished, but that we don't have the funding mechanism for that. And so, Mr. Chair, that is my amendment, and I appreciate you letting me offer it.
Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Lead Petersburg, for bringing this forward. I would recommend a no vote, and we had an extensive hearing on this in the House, almost an entire session, and you know, the issue here isn't so much you know, whether this line will be built or not built, or state money or no state money. It's just simply the legislature telling local unit of government what they can do and what they can't do, what they can build and not build. That has to be an organic process. That has to be something that comes out of a local community. And just because another group of people doesn't want to do it, they come to the legislature. And then I think this dates back to the early 2000s or the late 1990s. And I just don't like the precedent. I don't like the precedent of the legislature stepping in and saying you can't even study. You can't even study whether this is appropriate or not. So again, it may or may not be studied in the future. It may or may not be appropriate now in this moment to consider this particular line. But I recommend a no vote simply because of the precedent that this set in the past. I think many people on both sides of the aisle have supported lifting this as we're doing in the bill. And again, that's why I oppose the amendment. Thank you, Representative Petersburg. And Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Hornstein. Members, anything further on the A159? All right. Oh, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and maybe you like my next amendment a little bit better. And I agree that we don't want to create a gag order like this. Unfortunately, projects like this rarely get studied without the expectation of state dollars involved with it, and that's my concern. So thank you for allowing me to present this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Petersburg. Anything further, members? All right. All in favor of the A159, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. No.
No.
Motion does not prevail. All right. Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this one here kind of addresses exactly what Representative Chair Hornstein talked about. This doesn't expect a gag order on them, but it clarifies that if the two regional rail authorities want to go ahead and explore the Dan Patch, that there would be explicitly the expectation that there would be no state or federal sources for that particular study. So this kind of gets to what you want. And so I think this could be a good bridge amendment to that. And I would please ask for your support.
Thank you, Representative Petersburg. Members, anything further on the A157? Representative Hornstein.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and again, thanks, Lead Petersburg, for bringing this forward. And again, I'd recommend a no vote. We're simply, I think, here going back to the status quo of the 1990s, and I don't think the legislature should be dictating whether state resources, federal resources, local resources should be used for a particular project, even before it's studied and examined. So, again, recommending a no vote.
Representative Petersburg. Representative Petersburg.
Thank you. And just in final comments, I disagree there, because I think that is exactly the legislature's responsibility determining what gets spent for state dollars and federal dollars and coming through the state. And so I understand that the outcome is going to be the same, but I'm hoping that at least we can have maybe more discussion next year as we move forward. And thank you for the committee for considering this amendment.
All right. Thank you. Anything further, members? All right. On the A157, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. No. Motion does not prevail.
I know Alexa's already funded.
You were very persuasive. All right. Members, any further amendments? Any discussion? Any questions? Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so are we on to the final bill now? I have just two areas that I would like just some conversation and clarity on, if I could ask them. One has to do with the Met Council bonding, and that's on page 74 of this bill. I thought somewhere that I recollected that we had put a limit on the bonding authority, but I didn't see that. And maybe I misunderstood that it was actually based upon the Met Council's parameters on what that bonding level is, but I don't see it on those pages unless somebody else can kind of give me a direction of where that is.
So Representative Petersburg, I think this is the bonding that is authority to bond against sales tax resources. Is that correct?
That'd be correct. Yeah.
Mr. Burris. And there's, I think the discussion we had earlier in the conference committee was on the regional bonds that are supported by the property tax, and that's a slightly different thing. Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair, Representative Petersburg, you're correct that the provision you're just looking at is bonding authority against the regional sales tax funds. I think the limitation you might be thinking of is found on page 167, and that is a limitation on the regional transit capital bonding at section 90. And then the bonding authority that it's limiting is found in section 89 and on page 167.
Representative Petersburg.
Thank you. And yes, I know there's a difference between the property tax bonding authority and the bonding authority listed here. Are there any parameters given, or is that completely up to the discretion of the Met Council on how much they use this for bonding levels?
I would guess that there's a practical limit, of course, and
Right.
what could be supported by the revenue source. And so, the bond council and bond houses wouldn't let you bond beyond your ability to support and defease those bonds. I don't know, and there's also, a practical limitation in how much of a revenue source you bond against. We have, for example, in the Trunk Highway Fund, a 20% limitation. But maybe Mr. Burris has a better handle on the question. Mr. Burris.
Mr. Chair, Representative Petersburg, I imagine you've read through that section on revenue bonding that's found on page 74, and this is part of the sales tax authorization. I'm not aware of another provision that specifically goes to limitations on use of the dollars beyond what's laid out here. But as was mentioned, there are general limitations that apply to use of revenue bonds that wouldn't be specific to the Met Council's limitations. The council might be able to speak further to the scope of the bonding or how they might intend to use this kind of authority.
Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think that's fine. It was one of those things that kind of stuck out to me, is that it really doesn't have a lot of parameters and there's a lot of wiggle room there. So I was curious about that. The other question is related to the delivery charge. And on page 57 specifically, I have a couple of concerns in regards to up on number 3. A retail delivery resulting from a retail sales of food and food ingredients or prepared food. This is in relationship to the 50-cent delivery charge. That, to me, is somewhat unclear as to what that means. So does that mean if, say, for example, Walmart has a retail sale of food and food ingredients, and that comes in, what if there's a piece of clothing or something with it? It seems to be a little bit clear as what's exempt and what isn't. And so I'm just wondering if there's any clarity on how that would work in mixed deliveries, et cetera. And it appears from the overall language here that virtually anything, food delivery, McDonald's or whatever, pizza is now exempt from that delivery charge. So I just wanted kind of clarity, because I know people out in the community are curious about that too.
So I'll take a first crack at it again. So any kind of food is exempt in and of itself. If there's any merchandise that's not exempt, that would be subject to the road maintenance fee. we would, that would have to total $100 or more. So, if food and non-exempt items are mixed into a single order for delivery, if the total is less, the threshold is less than $100 for the non-exempt items, the road maintenance fee would not be enacted. Likewise, if you ordered, $50,000 worth of food, the road maintenance fee would not be enacted because it's exempt.
And if I could ask a follow-up question in that regard, the difficulty that I think a lot of people are trying to equate, because we treat taxable items differently when it comes to food. For example, pop, candy is not considered non-taxable. It has to require taxes. And all of the fast food is also taxable. But in this case, it sounds like that could be non-charged for the delivery. Is that a clarity question?
Thank you. Yeah, the tax isn't, whether something is taxable or not is not the only trigger of whether or not the road maintenance fee is charged. It's whether or not the item falls into a particular category of, for example, food or medicine or, medical supplies.
And Mr. Chair, if I could then just restate in my own words, it sounds like if it's from a fast food or something and it's food related, as long as it's under $100, or if it's anything that would be considered food in a grocery store or whatever, those items would be exempt from the delivery charge. Is that correct?
Slight correction. You could order something to be delivered from a restaurant that exceeds $100 and still not be charged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no food from a restaurant or a grocery store. No food.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Jasinski.
I'm just going to, as long as we're on the subject of a delivery fee, and again, I think this is very confusing for Minnesotans. It's, and we just got the language, so some of it is new, but I'm frustrated with that. I don't think that was the right thing to do, but obviously we're not in the majority, so we're not making the decisions, but we can input. So if we had let's say an auto dealership, and they had a car in for repair, and they needed an auto part from Napa, and Napa was 2 blocks away, and they've just always been used to ordering that. So they order an auto part that's $110, and so now Napa's going to deliver that auto part 3 blocks to the auto dealership. Does that entitle a delivery fee charge then, if that's the way it is? And if it fits in 2 boxes, if it's let's say it's 2 I don't know, an alternator and a muffler, and they come together, is it in 2 separate boxes? How does that effectively charge on a delivery fee?
So the delivery fee would be only on a per order basis. So one order, no matter how many. So like oftentimes you order something in like 3 different deliveries, but you only pay the road maintenance fee once.
So if Mr. Chair, so if the auto dealership orders 15 parts that day, and they come in one order on the same truck, they're going to be just charged 1 delivery fee, not per box.
That is correct.
Okay. That's it for the question. I think the delivery fee to people is very confusing. I think setting up the system, I know there's been some discussion on clothing versus taxable items versus not, and having to set up the software to do that. I know it's delayed out another year, but it's still going to take a lot of work and cost to do that. All those costs are going to be put on to the people buying that. So I'm just concerned, obviously, all the fees, on top of everything else that are increasing the fees and the revenues this year, between the motor vehicle sales tax, the tab fee increase on the percentage of the depreciation, the delivery fee, the gas tax. There's just lots of charges that are increasing fees, while lots of people are struggling to make their payments because of what's going on in the economy. So, we as the other party before really wanted to try and shift that from auto part sales tax, capturing that existing tax. We looked at changing some of the electric vehicle surcharges from, I think it's 75 up to 229. We had some other ways to do it, and I understand this is your guys' bill, but I just do have some concerns of I think it's $3.88 billion in new taxes that are going to be pushed onto our residents in Minnesota. And with that, We do have some ongoing new money, which I'm very happy about with the small cities, but I don't think there's any new ongoing money for state roads as part of this bill. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is some ongoing for small cities and townships, and I thank you for that because that was one of my bills. I think what I've been told or looking at it, it's $3.88 billion in increases, and there's no new money, ongoing money for state roads. Other than the IIJA money that's in there. Is that correct? I don't know who can answer that, but.
I mean, like road money that would flow into the highway user tax distribution fund and support trunk highways?
Correct.
That is not correct.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I'll find out, correction that, but
I mean,
you
I
can
can
let everyone
ask
know.
Ms. Boyd to, help us understand.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, several of the increases are for constitutionally dedicated funds. The vehicle registration tax, the gas tax increases, those are constitutionally dedicated to the highway user tax distribution fund. And roughly 62% of that flows into the trunk highway fund and is available for appropriation for state roads.
So I think Senator Jasinski, from my notes tell me that the trunk highway fund will receive an increase in the coming biennium of about $266.2 million, and in the next biennium, about $524.1 million. And then it kind of grows from there. That's, of course, attributable to the vehicle registration tax, the indexing that's done on the gas tax, of course, the auto parts phase-in. Some of those dollars flow to the highway user tax distribution fund, as well as the increase in the motor vehicle sales tax, the 0.375, incremental increase, all flow. Those are several of those are constitutional dedication. Then, of course, we have the flexible funds from the auto parts phase-in that flows partially into the highway user tax distribution fund. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it flows through trunk highway funds, but as far as operations and maintenance under MnDOT, under state roads, operation and maintenance, planning research, program delivery, state road construction, none of that new money goes into any of those categories, I believe. Is that correct?
Well, all of that supports the roadway system in different ways, and state road construction is where we, do the actual, the bricks and mortar, as well as we're supporting several $100 million in bonding, which is state road construction support. So, Ms. Boyd, can you help us understand the appropriations to the various buckets, SRC, et cetera, et cetera?
And Mr. just as part of that, I think the governor had a lot more money going into, from general fund into transportation versus you're using a lot more trunk highway funds. Is that part of that same discussion is what I'm kind of trying to get at?
So, Senator Jasinski, that was general fund designated to, that was designated in light of the fact that there was, no or very little new revenue in his budget proposal to support the trunk highway fund, and those dollars were designed to serve as the match, the formula match, and also some of the discretionary match for the IIJA, because there's additional new revenue coming into the trunk highway fund. Much of that is now used as that qualifying match. So that general fund was to kind of substitute and swap out for trunk highway fund, and so that freed up the general fund in our target for other purposes. Great. Members, anything further? Representative Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, I'm really excited about this bill. I think there's a lot of really good stuff in here. I've been, putting a lot of my heart and soul into the roads, which I think is kind of funny. I'm very passionate about transportation, I guess. Never thought that would be the case. But I just really want to highlight some of the things that I'm really proud of in this bill, especially the small communities piece, where we're working with the U of M to make sure to get some stuff out to local communities, really help them take advantage of some of these federal funds. The federal funds coordinator, I'm super excited about that, being able to have that coordination within the administration to really leverage those federal funds. NLX is going to be super exciting. I'm really, really excited to take a family trip to the shore. And then just the amount of jobs that we are creating in this piece of legislation. And one of the things that I've been really trying to focus my work on this past year has been co-beneficial policies and projects. And I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the road maintenance fee and where that came from, and really kind of looking at our climate action framework, some of the things that we need to do as a state in order to really make a huge impact on our climate and make sure that our kids, you know, can swim in the lakes and bike on the trails. And so one of the big things about the delivery fee was the fact that I was really trying to not only raise revenue for our roads, but also have a little bit of an impact on how we think about the stuff that comes to our houses. We can sit in our basements and have food delivered to us and have our mail delivered to us and work, you know, through our computers. And I think some of the fact that, you know, this does cost us when we have these deliveries come to our house every day. And so one of the reasons that I really wanted to tie it to have no minimum was so that people would really start to think about how they're ordering these products. Instead of, you know, I'm at fault. I know at the beginning of session, a lot of people heard me talk about this being my anti-hero Taylor Swift bill because it's me. I'm the problem. And so, you know, hitting that buy now or forgetting, you know, ordering something at Target and then forgetting and going and ordering it again and having it all come in 3 different packages, it does have an impact on our roads. These trucks, these delivery vehicles are driving our roads. A lot of times they're residential roads that aren't meant to handle these giant UPS and FedEx trucks, and they're doing damage. And we get what we pay for. And so with this minimum threshold, it's really, I fear it's going to drive people to split up orders and have more vehicle miles traveled. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not getting the co-beneficial policies that I envisioned, but we at least are getting the revenue out of it. And that's a big first step. And so I just want to, continue working on this policy and make sure that we get it right in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cagle. Members, anything further? Senator Jasinski.
Mr. Chair, again, I just want to thank you and Representative Hornstein. Again, this is the way a conference committee should work. We've worked well together over the last 6 years, and I hope we can continue on with that. Just a couple things, and again, I like the bill overall. I'm obviously some concerned about the revenue increases. Just on the delivery fee you're just talking about, remember those delivery trucks pay motor vehicle sales tax, they pay license tab fees, they pay gas tax, so they're always paying all those things, and now we're adding one more fee on top of them. I know the way business works, those fees are going to get passed on to us. Those products are just going to get charged up. That's the one thing. Thank you again for the small cities for dedicated funding for that. I know there's some concern about the slow phase in, but we are getting dedicated money to them, so I'd like to see it higher, but understand you're somewhat restricted. Some of the stuff on the greenhouse gas emissions, I have some concerns. I brought up to you, Mr. Chair, both chairs, if or if not with this greenhouse gas emissions council, if projects like Highway 14 will get funded in the future. We talked about safety, we talked about vehicle miles traveled. I think this is going to make some of our roads more expensive, cause some delays getting them done. So we all want clean air, I get that. But I think safety, and we talked about deaths quite a bit, and putting deaths in there versus greenhouse gas emissions, 3 deaths versus 0.0003 to 0.00023 or something like that should be brought into consideration. I want to thank both chairs on the deputy registers and the independent expert review on that. A little bit disappointed. We had talked about the deputy registers getting some one-time money from the general fund for everything they've been through. We had talked about $12 million, and I think, reading this correctly, that was cut in half down to $6 million. So I have a little bit of concerns. I think we've already had 2 or 3 more deputy registers close their doors this year. So obviously something is not working right there. We've shifted a lot of work on to the deputy registers. We did not do the fee sharing that I wanted to see as what was recommended by the report. I do know we added a fee, a convenience fee or whatever you want to call it, that will help them, but I still have some concerns about our deputy registers across the state. I have a little bit of concern over the motor vehicle sales tax with some of our border cities, watching some of those people go across the border to their vehicles. Thank you for the time on the Quarters of Commerce language, trying to get that right, and thank you for being flexible to work with us on that language. I know there's a lot of discussion on that between Representative Torkelson and myself and both the chairs. Thank you on that. Other than that, again, thank you for all your work that you've done, all the staff time. I want to thank all the members for that. We've done a lot of work in this committee. We've made a lot of great progresses. So thank you both chairs, and thank you all committee members and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Members, anything further? All right. Representative Hornstein.
Well, I want to just thank, again, every member of the conference committee, our incredible staff, for their patience and flexibility throughout this process. And I would agree with Chair Cagle that this is a tremendous bill. It will move the state forward in so many ways. Job creation, safety, mobility, climate, you name it. All parts of the state are covered. All modes of transit are promoted. It is a generational investment, and I'm so proud to be a part of this. And Mr. Chair, so honored to work with you throughout this. This is a bill that we've talked about for many, many years, and we're on the verge of passing something very unique nationally, and I can't thank you enough for your work.
Thank you, Representative Hornstein. Let me echo the thanks and gratitude, especially to all of my amazing committee members, both the conference committee members, Senators Morrison, Carlson, McEwen, and of course, my partner, Senator Jasinski, with whom I enjoy working immensely. Appreciate, like I've said before, everyone bringing so much of your best selves, and of course, Representative Petersburg, Brand, Aaron Cagle, Brad Tabke, tremendous passion and tremendous knowledge and experience for this work. Understanding how profoundly it affects our lives, our families, young people, our future, our economy. Not a lot of people have a heart and passion for transportation and the Transportation Committee, and we're the transportation nerds, and we're really proud of it. Everyone else is off, in those other shiny committees, and here we are doing the work so that people can be successful in their communities. Jennifer Nelson, Enid Swaggart, I'm in awe of how hard you work and how much you throw into this effort. And of course, Kevin Petrie, who supports you, Mr. Chair, just tremendous. And on our side, we have, well, on both sides, we have Andy Lee and Matt Burris and Mr. Greenfield and Ms. Boyd, who my mind blows every time I think of what you do and what you churn out for us and the brilliance you bring to the work that we do here. Andrew Will and Beth Ethier, who just tremendous partners in my office, and Dom Linetti and David Frazier, who work with Senator Jasinski and are just, especially the endless creativity of Mr. Frazier, very much appreciated. And we have all of our committee pages, Andrew George always there, doing all that work. So thank you, everyone. And I'm Joe Marble. Yes, there he is, Joe Marble. So I'm also proud of this. We'll talk some more on the floor. Like I have always said about transportation, it's one of those things that if you do well, you're improving our economy, you're improving our environment, and you're giving more people access to opportunity. And if you don't do it the right way, you can do the exact opposite with transportation. This bill represents the finest. I do want to, just for a second, address a couple things. Senator Jasinski committed to working with you and your concerns on the climate framework. It's got to work. It's got to work well in the ways that you're concerned about. We have the implementation phase, and we're going to, draw you or anyone you want into that work so that we because it is different from greater Minnesota to the metro area, absolutely, and safety absolutely has to be job number one in transportation. It is absolutely job number one. And I know the people whom I admire, from whom I've learned the most about transportation, that was their entry point into working on comprehensive transportation solutions that serve all parts of our community is safety. Mr. O'Rourke and his concern about small cities, actually, I think we shared a great passion because small cities were always the orphan. And I think we do very well by small cities. And as we look at the migration of the auto parts sales tax over 10 years, small cities will be in a very, very strong position. Likewise, the metro counties and the conversation, thank you for all of the work and all of the conversation and the connection that you brought. And I know there's, some questioning about this. Again, I would encourage you to take a look at the resources that flow through the Transportation Advancement Account, which gets the metro counties to a fully 31% equivalent of what's generated on the sales tax in the metro. And it's literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per year new that are coming to the metro counties and the collar counties. Additionally, in the early years, we see that it's not quite what was aspired to. We've placed one-time money into the bill. The earmarks, which we hate, we put in the bill so we could get them, get those around the metro area. We did not do the motor vehicle lease tax sharing with motor vehicle lease tax sharing with Hennepin and Ramsey. So those dollars, that 50-some million dollars that flowed just to the collar counties, will remain in place. We did the corridors of commerce thing, whether Matt Mossman believes me or not. It's going to happen the way you hope it does. And of course, the sales tax in the metro is going to pick up all transit operating and capital maintenance in the metro area that would become would become county responsibility, and that represents over the the analysis that I saw over the course of just the coming 5 years about almost $800,000 that just simply drops to the bottom line that counties can use as they see fit, hopefully for transit and other things like that, but those are real dollars that the counties can use. And then, of course, we have 5% of the dollars that we flex for active transportation in the metro area, and all communities and counties in the metro area will be able to access those dollars for the purposes that they see fit around active transportation. So I think we aspired to do very, very well by the counties in the metro area and uphold that incredible conversation that you had over the past few weeks. And so I'm really proud of that work, quite frankly. Like I said, we've got a package that we can be proud of, and we worked very hard, and I look forward to further conversation on the floor of the Senate and the House in the coming day. Hopefully 24 hours or so from now, we'll have something on its way to the governor. All right, anything further, members?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Jasinski.
Sorry, I just forgot a couple things. You brought all those names up, and again, I want to thank my staff, Dave Frazier and Dom. They've done a great job, and as well as Ms. Boyd and Mr. Greenfield. It's been very good. And then also thank you again for the State Patrol aircraft that I've been pushing for. I think that's a great asset for our people in Minnesota to keep our people safe. So I thank Colonel Langer for educating me on how well that'll be used. So I just want to make sure I didn't forget about those couple things. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. So Representative Hornstein, would you like to renew your motion to move the H2887DE as amended? And then, Council, do we need any other parts of the amendment? There's spreadsheet, staff direction to do technical cleanup, anything like that?
Mr. Chair, following adoption of the DE, you could make a motion to adopt the conference committee report as amended and direct staff to make technical and conforming changes as necessary.
All right.
To effectuate the will of the committee.
We will make you repeat that in just a second. So Senator Hornstein moves the H2887DE. Representative Hornstein Didn't mean to demote you there. As amended, anything to the motion, members? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. All right. So that thing you just said, Mr. Burris, can you say that again?
I think this would work as a motion adoption, whichever member moves adoption of the conference committee report on House File 2887 as amended, and instruct staff to make technical and conforming amendments as necessary to effectuate the will of the committee.
All right. Representative Hornstein makes that motion, that very motion.
Yes, I do.
To the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. All right. So members, the plan is for the conference committee report to be produced yet this evening. And you have options. Of course, you can sign that report electronically, but that's no fun. I know the House members are going to sign it physically. I'm going to stick around to sign it physically. So if you want to hang around here, this cool place that we work, and you'll be alerted on your email when that's ready and available. All right. Anything further, members? Let me also thank the public and all the passion and everything you brought to this conversation. We wouldn't have this amazing bill without you. So with that, we are adjourned.